Hey everybody, this is TimeRider, and welcome to my deep junk race car build. And yeah, I built another race car earlier today, and now I'm building another one. The rules for this one were that it couldn't already be a race car, so it kind of had to be something that I created. And I think he kind of thought, you know, if it was sort of like the shop truck thing where it was reflective of your channel. And I'll tell you what, when I was a kid, if you had a cool car, this was probably it. This is a second generation Camaro, and I knew a few people that had them. They were highly sought after by the motorheads. Most of us couldn't afford them though. My only objection to this casting right here is it has the unfortunate color choices, which happen to be the same as a football team who will remain nameless. But whom I don't like very much. Anyway, I'm going to make a race car out of this for the wee little cars people, so stick around. So, you know, it was a pretty good casting in spite of the fact that it's using colors from that other football team. Held together with two posts, pretty typical of die-cast cars. I'll drill a pilot hole in these posts so I can get it apart. I try not to, you know, drill a hole any bigger than I have to. Sometimes you really don't have any choice, but this one came apart pretty easily. Plastic chassis, as is pretty typical in today's world. Black molded interior. It was actually molded as a race car already, so that was kind of cool. I'm gonna clean up these posts a little bit here, and you know, because I got to put it back together at some point in time, right? I want it to go back together easily. You know, the Camaro, of course, was produced first in 1966 for the 1967 model year, and you know, the intention was to compete directly with the Ford Mustang, which I'm sure caught Detroit off guard. I mean, really the only thing they had to compete with it at that point was the Corvette, and that was really kind of a different kind of car altogether. Again, I use a 2-56 tap, 2-56 button head screws. There have been several generations of Camaro. The first generation was, it started as kind of a pony car, and then it sort of morphed its way into a muscle car. And my citrus stripper. This second generation was an F body, and all throughout its history, it's kind of shared things with the Pontiac Firebird all along. The whole F body GM car. Whoops. You know, and actually the citrus stripper works, it works pretty good. And once I got all the paint loose, just need to take a minute and get it all nice and clean. I use mineral spirits for just about everything. It's just wonderful. It's the best cleaning solution that I've found so far. It's kind of spendy, but I use it very judiciously. And then once the casting was clean, we'll start getting it ready for paint. And this casting, you hear me talk periodically about the practice of modern day die-cast companies to have really crappy castings. And then what they do is they just put the paint on real thick. And when it levels, it makes the casting look good again. Well, this was one of those castings. You can kind of see as I'm cleaning it up with the steel wool, all the little nicks and imperfections. The casting lines were really well hidden. There was a couple that I had to file off, but they did a pretty good job of running it around natural edges on the casting, like on the top of the spoiler here. And so it made it real easy to clean the casting up. This is one of my favorite cars of all time. So now, like with everything that I do these days, I'm going to give it a polish. And then a good cleaning to get the remainder of the polish off. And there you go. You can see exactly what I'm talking about here, how bad that casting actually is. So I'll lay a coat of, a couple coats actually, of Duplicolor white, more as a filler than anything else. And then I painted it with Redline Shop base coat. And that made it look real good. So we'll paint it with some Spectre Flame Blue. And like all my paint, you know, you just kind of got to layer it up until you get it to the richness, the hue that you want. It's a pretty color, you got to admit. And then I taped it off, and I don't have a lot of footage of this, I apologize. But I painted it, the front end of the car, with Createx Pearl White. I used translucent yellow along the base lines and in the headlights and turn signals. And here I'm using my chrome pen to kind of doll up the bumpers a little bit. The back taillights, I put a drop of silver, like I'm sure you've seen me do before. It's coming along nicely. And then a drop of Tamiya translucent red in over the silver. And then I got a set of wheels for it, and I'll give you a hint. These wheels have appeared in a 3 Blind Mice video once before. I painted them with Redline Shop base coat and a couple of coats of Tamiya yellow. And then there's my canary. You know, I've always said I'm a big fan of Dale Earnhardt, so really there was only one number that I could use for this car. That was printed on my inkjet printer. And now that it should be ready to go, there we go. Primary sponsor, Wee Little Cars. And like I said, I've been a big fan of the old man. So really only one number would do. And that's the number 3. And those of you who are Earnhardt fans will notice that this decal set I bought was wrong. That 3 should lean the other direction. But they both lean the same way. That one leans the wrong direction too. In fact, Earnhardt did an interview one time about whether numbers should lean forward or backward. So I wanted to use these wheels, but I had to widen the channel a little bit. What I'm going to have to do is put an axle channel in there, and then cut the axles on these wheels, and I'll super glue them in place. You figure out where they came from yet? This car had a ground effect spoiler, and I painted that with the Redline Shop base coat. And then using Tamiya clear yellow, I'm going to bring it into compliance, shall we say, with the rest of the car's color scheme. This paint levels really well, so the interior I'm going to dress up a little bit. Funny how much you learn the first time you do this. When I did the 3 blind mice build, I learned a lot. So my guess is that this racer will probably turn out a little bit better. And I'll use my my chrome paint pen to highlight some of the interior components here. I painted the driver's seat with that same bright green, and you know, I don't even know what this thing back here is supposed to be, but I thought, you know what, if I paint it red, it'll stick out. There's a couple of things in the inside of this car I have absolutely no idea what they were trying to recreate. But there it is. I also added a roll bar a little bit later. Now I wanted to clear coat this, but I'm always a little worried about these inkjet decals. Sometimes the clear coat will attack the integrity. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to paint over this decal with gauzy. And then I'll clear coat over that once the gauzy dries. And honestly, it worked really well. And take a minute and put this thing back together. I baked it and painted it all in the same day. I was really under the gun on this one, so I was just finishing it up Friday night for a Saturday release. I'm going to tease you a little bit here and take you back to where I started, to this ugly green Camaro, color I'd never order, with its ugly yellow tampos, ugly wheels. It's just a horrible car. Let's see where I wound up. The Wee Little Cars. Number 3. Chevy Camaro. Hey, thanks to Deep Junk for putting on the build. It was fun, even though I was under the gun. I really liked the car. I think it turned out really well. I'm not going to have an edition of the bench following this video. It's late Friday night. I'm tired, and I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to upload this video real quick, and that way you guys can watch it in the morning. I'll probably be sleeping. I hope you like it. I know I sure do. This is TimeRider, and I'll leave the light on for you.